People who knew someone who died at work, what happened? I was working at a supermarket back in the mid-2000s, just a normal grocery store in a mid-sized town. I was in my early 20s. It wasn't the best job in the world, but it paid the bills. Most of us were part-timers, students, or people just looking for steady hours. Our store manager at the time was named Brian. He was in his late 30s, maybe 38 or 39, and he was one of those rare bosses that everyone actually liked. He wasn't the type to micromanage or bark orders. He pitched in on bagging groceries if the front was slammed, and he knew every employee's name. If you needed a shift covered because of class or family, he would figure it out without making you feel guilty. For a manager, he was surprisingly down to earth. One night we were doing inventory prep, which meant staying late and getting things organized for the big count. Everyone hated inventory week, but Brian had a way of making it less miserable. He'd order pizzas for us and let the music play in the background, something corporate normally didn't allow. That night, he didn't look like himself. He kept rubbing his chest and sort of shaking out his hands. At first, people thought he was just stressed or tired. He brushed it off, said he was feeling a little weird, and was going to sit down in the office for a bit. Not 10 minutes later, someone ran out of the office screaming for help. Brian had collapsed. We all rushed in, but it was obvious within seconds that it was bad. A couple of the employees tried CPR while someone called an ambulance, but by the time paramedics got there, it was over. He had suffered a massive heart attack right there in the office chair. One second he was with us, the next he was gone. The store shut down for the night and corporate sent people to talk to us the next day. It was surreal. Everyone kept saying the same thing. He was too young, too healthy, too good of a guy. Some of the older employees had been with him for years and were just devastated. Even I, as a part-timer who mostly worked evenings, felt like I'd lost someone important. The weirdest part came the next morning. Corporate had already chosen a new manager for us. His name was Kevin. He was popular in the company and had managed another store in the region. Word was that he was sharp, easy to work for, and a lot like Brian in terms of personality. He showed up the day after Brian's death to introduce himself to everyone. It was quick, just a short meeting in the break room. He shook everyone's hand, cracked a couple of jokes to lighten the mood, and told us he knew we'd been through something awful, but that he was looking forward to working with us. Honestly, the first impression was great. Everyone was relieved. It felt like maybe we'd lucked out getting someone who wasn't going to make things worse. That night, we cleaned up the store, and everyone talked about how strange it was going to feel moving forward without Brian. But at least we had Kevin coming in, and it seemed like the company had handled things well. The next morning, on what would have been his very first real shift as our store manager, Kevin died in a motorcycle accident on his way in. I still remember the stunned silence when we were told. The assistant manager, a woman named Lisa, had tears running down her face as she broke the news to us. She had just been on the phone with corporate, and even they sounded like they couldn't believe what they were saying out loud. Two managers, back to back, both gone in less than 3 days. One dies suddenly in the office, the other never even makes it in the door. The whole store felt like it had been cursed. Employees didn't know whether to laugh nervously, cry, or just stand there in shock. For weeks afterward, customers would ask casually about Brian, not knowing what had happened, and we'd have to tell them. Then, once word got out about Kevin too, the looks on their faces mirrored ours. Nobody knew what to make of it. Corporate scrambled after that. They pulled managers from other stores temporarily, rotating them in just to keep the place running. Nobody wanted to be the new permanent manager right away. Eventually, they did assign someone, a guy named Mark, but you could tell he walked on eggshells the first few weeks, like he thought the job itself was cursed. The employees would joke in hushed voices saying, "If you're the store manager here, you'd better have your affairs in order." It was dark humor, but it was the only way people could process how bizarre the whole thing was. Time went on, of course, and the store went back to normal in a practical sense. But every time inventory rolled around, I'd think about that week. Brian had been sitting in the office, cracking jokes about pizza toppings one moment and gone the next. Kevin had walked into that break room with a big smile, telling us not to worry, and never came back the next day. Out of all the years I worked there, that single week is burned into my memory more than anything else. It felt like some kind of bad dream, but it wasn't. It really happened. And to this day, I don't think I've ever seen a workplace so shaken by back-to-back tragedies like that. It was, without a doubt, the craziest work week of my life.